everybody, it's Matt Hillier here at the Cadillac Barn, 1100 Springs headquarters. It's where we do all our jamming, and it's like our beat laboratory. And today we got one of our alumni in the house, our good friend, Mr. Arjuna Contreras. And it's great to see you, buddy.
Great to be here, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
He's big time.
How's it going there, guy?
How's it going there, guy? You played with us for 6.5 years.
Can you believe that?
I can believe it. You're an easy dude to work with. And now you're, of course, playing with Reverend Horton Heat. Yeah. And we wanted to have you in here just because you're a righteous brother. And there's so much that we could talk about. We'll try. If we had a million hours to discuss stories and things like that. But I wanted to go through the history. I'll start at the beginning when you first joined 1100 Springs.
Yeah.
And I wanted to lift you up a little bit and make you feel good, because you should. We got to the point where we're actually having auditions for drummers, whereas there were probably times where, if we had to get a different drummer, we're just like, I don't know, that guy plays drums. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it always worked out for us, luckily. But we were having auditions. We had a few different people come in, and of course, we gave everybody listening material and stuff, and head and shoulders above anybody else who auditioned. Like instantly, it's like, well, that's the guy.
Oh man.
You know what I mean? So.
Well, thanks for saying that.
Yeah, of course.
I definitely did my homework on the songs that I needed to learn, and I was aware of you guys before that, and I had seen you guys play a few times, and but I had never played country music before. And it's like when the opportunity presented itself for me to audition. I thought to myself, I was like, well, I've been in Texas for like over 20 years, and I've never played in a country band.
Right.
So, what kind of self-respecting drummer, would be in Texas that long and never play country? So, I wanted to give it a shot, and knew that there was a lot that I needed to learn to really get into it. But I sure worked on those songs as hard as I could, and tried to be as prepared as I possibly could be for that day. And man, I'm thankful for the opportunity that you guys gave me, man.
Well, we're grateful to be able to have played with somebody of your caliber, because that was something that was really pretty new to us, is to have somebody like yourself who and now it was eye-opening too, even just dealing with your recommendation after you've moved on to Reverend Horton Heat, Christian Dorn, our drummer now. It's like there's a whole bunch of guys that have great chops and are always prepared, always professional, always a good hang and everything like that. Sure. So it's all on you. But I want to talk a little bit about moving from 1100 Springs, which we had a blast. There's a lot of stories we could tell.
Sure. Some great times, man.
Yeah, exactly.
There's definitely a few highlights for me.
Oh, for sure.
The records that we made, and those couple trips to Europe, were a blast. As my first time traveling to Europe was with you guys, and the times we had in France were a blast. And
we'll always have Paris.
We'll always have Paris. We'll always have whatever that is, Cronenberg, 1664.
Right.
Is that what that?
Yeah, I don't think that's up.
It's not represented on the beer wall.
I don't think so. We need to work on that. But I wanted to talk about when we're speaking about auditions and things like that. Fast forward to where you are now, and you, after you left us, you were gigging with the Frisco ISD for a while, doing percussion there, and then when the drum position for Reverend Horton Heat opened up, you messaged Steve, if I'm not mistaken, and said, hey, because knowing that we've been knowing those guys for a long time, been friendly and everything, seeing if you could put the word in, and myself as well. Yeah. And walk us through kind of how that transpired.
Yeah. Well, it was one of these like kind of unbelievable stories, really. And I don't remember if it was me that messaged Steve or or Steve might have texted me and been like, "Dang man, it's a shame you're locked into that teaching gig right now." So Reverend Horton Heat gig just opened up, and I knew when I saw that. I think I had just seen that post also that Jim put out, and I knew right away that I was gonna need to talk to both of you guys and see if there was anything that could be done, because honestly, like when I left 1100. I kind of wanted to get back into teaching. I wanted to take a little bit of time from the grind, so to speak. And so like you mentioned, I was teaching full time in Frisco, percussion. Basically, a salary position with like benefits and everything, which is something I had never had in my life before. And I was still playing a little bit. Playing like gigs around town or whatever, with different groups that I had worked with in the past, and playing a church gig. Still playing up at Prestonwood Baptist in Prosper. But I realized pretty soon, pretty quick after leaving you guys, that like I still wanted to play. That was still going to be in my future. For sure. And so I had even started like going out to Nashville a couple times and just hanging out with friends that I have out there, and played a couple jam sessions out there, and I was like, I need to get back into playing a little bit more. So when the position opened up with the Rev, I knew right away that because of your relationship with him and Steve's, that you guys were the ones to talk to, and you cautioned me for sure. You said, well, hey man, if you were to get that gig, that's going to be all that you're going to do, right? Like there ain't going to be no teaching.
I think what I said was just make sure and look at their tour schedule.
Right, make sure you know what you're getting into.
Understand that this is a real full-time deal.
Yeah. So I mean, you put in some beautiful words that for me on my behalf to Jim, which have been relayed back to me from Jim, and I'm eternally grateful for that. And but when it went down, I think if I remember correctly, we talked on a Monday morning, towards the end of July, and I was actually planning to go to Nashville that coming weekend to spend the weekend out there. Those plans ended up changing because of what I'm going to tell you in a second. But a few days went by and I didn't hear anything from Jim after you told me. You said, hey, well, I talked to him, and I think I remember you saying something to the effect of, if you get a text or you get a call from a 214 number that you don't recognize, this would be the time to answer it. So I a couple days went by, and I think it was maybe like Thursday morning, I was in Starbucks getting a cup of coffee, getting ready to go teach like 15 drum lessons at the high school that I was teaching at, and I left my phone in my car. I came back out, sure enough, there's a text, hey Arjuna, Jim Heath here, we don't have a drummer right now, we're in the middle of a production of our new record, any chance you would want to come in and play a song or two? And I looked at this and I was like, is this real life? Like this happened, because those couple days in between that went by, I was already thinking like, oh, I bet they went in a different direction, or one of the previous drummers maybe is back in the mix, obviously, as Jim has had some incredible drummers over the years, some of the best rock drummers ever have gone through that band. And so I was starting to feel a little bit deflated in my chances until that text came, and I texted him back, I think like 2 minutes after he texted me, and I was like, heck yeah, man, I'm down. And as naive as I was, I said, do you mean today? Because I have a bunch of lessons, but maybe I could move them around, Right. So he texted me back right away, and he's laughing, he's like, no, man, not today, but soon, he said, I'm looking at booking some studio time. He said, but I do appreciate how quickly you got back to me on this. And he said, well, I'm gonna send you a couple demos to check out, So we kept on talking that Thursday a little bit more over text, and then by phone by phone and text the next day. By the time he ended up sending me the demos, he had sent me 8 tracks. That was on Friday night at midnight, and the session was Monday morning at 10 a.m. Down at Modern Electric Recorders in Dallas. And so that weekend that I was supposed to go to Nashville, luckily I was planning to drive on that trip because my plans changed drastically, and I needed to stay. I hunkered down for the whole weekend and learned those tunes, and did as much listening and practicing as I possibly could, and went in there on Monday and Monday morning, and we're setting up and getting sounds and whatnot, and I was told to, okay, go ahead and just play a little bit, we want to hear the whole kit, so I start thinking in my head, okay, well, I'm technically just brought in here to play a couple of tracks, to record some songs. Yeah. But in my head, I'm seeing it as like this is an audition, more or less.
Yeah, I mean, you can read the writing.
Yeah. So I start going in on that like sound check. I start going into like a bunch of the grooves from his songs, you know. So I play for a couple minutes, and then they tell me to stop, and Jim comes, over the mic. RJ, that sounds real good, man. Real good, So everything was cool. We started rehearsing the first song. Jim, and myself were recording all at the same time. Obviously Jim's stuff was all going to be scratch, vocal and guitar, but they were trying to get Jimbo's bass and my drums at the same time. Yeah. So we rehearsed it, and that first song, if I remember correctly, like we only did one take. And at the end, Jim was like, man, RJ, that was amazing. He said, let's listen to that. I think we have it. And we did. Yeah. Like, so that first song we did in one take. Yeah. The second, we go on to the next one, rehearsed a little bit. That one might have been like 2 takes or so. Yeah. And he was happy with the drums. I mean, there might have been other stuff that needed to get fixed a little bit, but moved on to the third song, same story. And he's like, man, so after the third song, he comes over. I think Jonathan was working on his guitars, or Jonathan Jeter was switching out his guitars or doing some work on his stuff. So he comes over by the drum booth, and he's like, man, RJ, I can't believe how good this is going. He said, I knew it would be good, but I didn't think it was going to be this good, you know? And I was like, well, man, I appreciate that. I worked as hard as I could on these songs, and he's like, yeah, no, it's man, so amazing. Thanks so much for putting in all the work, And he said, and then here comes the pitch, he says, well, we're kind of in a weird situation because, we're going out on the road next month, and it's a big tour, with Fishbone as direct support, and we don't have a drummer. And then it's like, everyone talks about how there's that moment that you gotta put it out there, in what could possibly change your life. So at that moment, I said, well, for what it's worth, I'd love to throw my hat into the ring, man. He's like, really? He said, I thought you do a lot of teaching and stuff. And I said, well, I do, He said, well, what were you planning on doing for the next few months? And I said, well, I was going to be doing a lot of teaching and a little bit of playing in the area. And he's like, well, could you like get out of that in time? And I was like, well, if something were to happen pretty quick, I think I could still get, back out of those situations, without burning any bridges. And he said, okay, well, let's keep talking about that. So then he turns around to start walking back to his guitars. And he turns back to me and says, hey, by chance, man, do you have a valid passport right now? And I was like, that's what I like to hear, Well, I had already looked at their tour schedule, and I saw that, they had a couple shows in Canada, like one coming up, one in September and one in October. And I've seen a ton of stuff of them playing in Europe and New Zealand and Australia. And so anyway, like we end up doing like 5 of those 8 tunes in the first day, and at the end of the day, he's like, man, well, we only got 3 more to do tomorrow. He said, do you mind if I send you a couple more? And I was like, yeah, sure. So that night he sent me 2 more songs, and so we did those the next day in addition to the 3 more we had. So in 2 days I did 10 songs, which was basically the whole record. I mean, we've ended up adding 1 more since then, I think. But
when can people hear that record?
I'm hearing this fall is what I'm hearing from the record label, but I haven't actually heard a date yet myself. But I know that it's in the hands of Victory Records right now, and they're getting the wheels rolling on that. But so anyway, at the end of the second day, we talked a little bit more, and Jim comes up to me and he's paying me for the work that I had done, which technically was the end of what we had talked about. But he says to me, he's like, man, Jimbo and I were talking, man, and we've just had a blast the last couple of days. We'd love for you to go out on tour with us for the rest of this year if you're interested. And I mean, you know, at that moment, it was like, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I knew you would get the gig.
That's what
you know what I mean?
You said something to that effect.
Why
You're like, once he hears you play and hangs with you.
Well, that's why I was saying, make sure and look at the schedule.
Yeah.
Okay, so if that's what you want, you'll get it. You know.
Yeah.
But I'm you know, we're all super happy for you, especially to. It's really cool to see somebody, you know, who's one of our brothers for life, and we've shared so much together, and we always love you. Go and be successful with some other guys that are also our brothers in music that we've known for a long, long time. It's really cool, and I know you've traveled the world with the guys, and it's been a whirlwind tour.
It has been, man. Like, I was just looking at this recently. My first show with them was on September 2nd of 2017. And since then, we're still under a year, and I think I've done like 152 shows.
That's awesome.
And it's all over the U.S. Obviously. I mean, there's areas of the U.S. that I've been to 2 or 3 times already with them. You know, we did 15 shows in Canada in March. You know, we just got back a couple of weeks ago from 2 weeks in Europe. You know, where we played in London, outside of Brussels. Outside of Barcelona, Helsinki, Oslo, Estonia, you know, like another show in Finland. I mean, it's been a wild ride, man. Like, and you're right. I definitely got all that I bargained for. You know, I mean, I'm having the time of my life, man. Though, like, it's something that I've dreamt about doing, you know, since I was, you know, a wee young lad. You know, since I was about 12 years old, man. But I'll tell you what, like, I have to say that, like, a lot of the stuff that has guided, a lot of the principles that have guided me in how I play with the Rev, man, I learned on the 1100 Springs gig. You know, like things that you've told me about playing country music. You know, like the way to approach certain styles, the type of feel that stuff is supposed to have, like. The help that you've given me over those 6 years in, like, getting those styles together, at least as much as I did, you know, like, it served me well, like on the Rev gig, because obviously, you know, they do some of the same stuff, you know, like, and, you know, experiences that I've had in previous bands have helped me a little bit with that too. You know, like, you know, I was lucky to work with the band Brave Combo from Denton for a couple of years, you know, prior to working to joining 1100 Springs, and a lot of the, like, fast polka music that they play turns out to be a real similar feel to a lot of Reverend Horton Heat songs, like, you know, Psychobilly Freak Out and the Jimbo song, and you know, stuff that are, you know, Galaxy 500, you know, songs that are, you know, big staples in the Reverend Horton Heat show, have like a similar kind of you know, similar kind of feel as what I was playing when I wish I
could do that.
when I was playing, like, the chicken dance, you know, like playing that kind of thing in Brave Combo, like, went right to, you know, it's a Psychobilly Freak Out.
Well, it's cool to see you doing well and everything like that. It's always good to catch up with you, and you can check out ReverendHortonHeat.com for their schedule, and come see Arjuna in action. It's always good. Every once in a while, if Christian can't make it, we will call Arjuna.
It's always a blast. A couple of times we've been able to have been a lot of fun. You know, it's and definitely, like, the years we've spent together, man, will always be cherished by me. You know.
It's good stuff. Buddies for life. Brothers in music. All right. Arjuna Contreras, thanks for tuning in to the Cadillac Barn. Like and subscribe. Tell your friends. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.